Hey, hi, Dave here again. We're looking at International Roadcheck for 2022. It's May 17th through May 19th, coming up in just a couple weeks, and we're going to go over a few things to kind of look at to get ready for it. Okay, over my 20 years of driving, I have been DOT'd many times, and I can tell you from experience some of the things that have helped me through some of the DOT inspections are just to stay calm, stay relaxed as possible, listen to the officer, follow what they're saying, answer their questions. Okay, some of the things you want to look for, keep your truck as clean as possible, keep debris out of your windshield, off your dash. Don't have any cracks, chips, or thing in your windshield bigger than a $1 bill. And a lot of the things they look for is your marker lights, your headlights, anything that's supposed to light up, they want to see it light up. We're just going over a basic kick the tires, check the lights, look at the paperwork inspection. There's going to be a lot more stuff that they'll want to look at if they want to do a full inspection on you. We're just going to kind of go around and look at some of the basics. One of the most basic things is your lights, reflectors. Make sure they're not cracked, broken. Make sure they lit up, and your turn signals, high beams and low beams work. Let's walk around the truck and see what else we can look at. Here we're getting to the tires. One of the things you want to look at, make sure all of your lug nuts are in place. Make sure there's no rust or scratch marks. Make sure you don't have any oil or leaking from your wheel seal. The dead giveaways, things that they're going to just visually inspect. And as you come back, make sure your straps are on your fuel tanks. Make sure there's not any rubs or cracks or breaks in them. Make sure your caps are on tight for your DEF tanks, your fuel tanks. Come back here. Basically, just want to make sure your front mud flaps are in good, make sure they're in the right position, make sure that they're not cracked, broken, damaged, so that they're blocking any debris from going under your tires. This year, it appears they are going to be doing a lot of focus for the International Roadcheck on tires, so you really want to take a good look at your tires, and let's go over a few things on tires that we can look for real quick, things that they might be wanting to see. Again, you're going to want to make sure all your lug nuts are good, make sure you're not hearing any air leaking, make sure there's no leaks. You want to make sure you got really good tread depth, make sure your treads are good, there's no cracks or bulges in your sidewalls. One of the other things, you want to make sure that the inside of the tires are free of debris. You don't want anything rubbing or touching the tires at all, either on the inside or the outside. And just make sure there's no oil leaking, make sure you don't hear any air leaking, which that's a big one. So you also got your airbags. You want to make sure they're not leaking. If they're going to be looking at your tires and checking tires closely, they're also going to be looking at your airbags. And you want to make sure there's no cracks, bulges, leaks in those. So as we come around and look, you want to make sure again your mud flaps in the back are hanging properly, fastened correctly. They're not ripped, broken, dangling. Check your tail lights, your turn signals, your backup light. You've got a utility light on the back of the truck. You need to make sure that also works properly. And as we come back here, one of the big things they also like to look at is your coupling device. You want to look at your fifth wheel, make sure the jaws are working properly. Make sure there's no gap between your trailer apron and the fifth wheel of the truck. Make sure that the load is secured. Come up this side, we're going to look at the same kind of things. You're going to look at your tires, check, make sure there's nothing in between them, make sure your tread depth is good, make sure they're inflated properly, make sure all your lug nuts are tight, Make sure there's no wheel seals leaking, no oil splatter. Make sure there's no cracks or bulges on your sidewalls on the inside or the outside. And coming back around here, you're just gonna, just like the other side with the fuel tanks, make sure your rubber's tight, make sure there's no rust, make sure nothing's rubbing, make sure your cap is on correctly and fastened. And come up here and, you've got your mirrors. Make sure your mirrors are adjusted properly. They're not broken, hanging down. Make sure they're in a position that you're going to be able to see properly out of them. Again, for Roadcheck 2022, again, that's going to be May 17th through the 19th. It's coming up real quick. We went around a truck. Now let's go around a trailer. You want to check your glad hands. You want to watch for, make sure the rubber, the little donut here, needs to be full, not ripped, broken, tore, or missing. If so, you're going to hear a lot of air leaking out of here, and they will too. So you want to keep an eye on that. Make sure your electric thing cover has a good spring to it, so that it holds the plug in with the spring. So you'll make sure you got good tension there. Make sure your box is closed. Make sure it closes tightly and stays secure. Around here, get down here. They'll come by and just kind of give it a cursory look, and what they're looking for is to make sure that your apron plates are hanging properly. Make sure none of the welds are broke, nothing's cracked or hanging down or broken. Make sure your kingpin is straight and proper, and most likely that's probably going to be inside a fifth wheel, inside the jaws of a fifth wheel. So they're probably not going to be looking directly at that. But what they will be looking at is your cross members of the underside of the trailer. You want to make sure none of them are broke, damaged, hanging down. You want to make sure the floor of the trailer is in really good shape from the outside. You come back here, and we're going to have dolly legs. And they're going to make sure that the crank handle is good. Make sure that the dolly legs, the assembly is straight, it's not bent, damaged. Make sure that it is securely fastened and bolted to the underside of the trailer to make sure that there's not going to be any problems dropping or hooking it. And come back here, they'll look at the sides of the trailer. This one's in a pretty good shape. Make sure there's no rips, tears, holes, damage to the outside of this trailer that could get to the inside product. Come back here. Again, they're going to look at the tires. This is a tire year for Roadcheck. This is what they're going to be looking for. So let's look at the tires here. Again, you've got your duals. You want to check your sidewalls. You want to check your tread depth. You want to make sure that the insides of the tires are free and clear of any debris. Make sure there's nothing touching those tires or not rubbing in any way. Make sure your wheel seals are nice and tight. There's no oil leaks. You want to check your valve stems. Make sure it's not cracked, broken, bent, leaking. Check your lug nuts. Make sure they're securely fastened, tightened. They're not rusting or loose. Come back over here. You're going to want to make sure your mud flaps are hanging properly at a good angle. Make sure they're nice and secured on and in place. And as we come back here, you want to make sure that your door is shut and fastened properly. Make sure the latches are in the proper spots, upper and lower. You want to watch up at the top and at the bottom. Make sure the lock is down. Make sure the flip thing's down for both doors. Make sure you don't have one door half open and one door half closed. So we'll come around to the other side of the trailer. They will be checking for the door fasteners. They'll be checking to make sure that you've got good chains on the doors to hold them open in an open position. They will check the hooks here to make sure they're not damaged, bent, broken, or missing, so that you can safely secure your door when you need to. Again, you're going to look at your mud flaps, make sure they're solid on there, make sure they're bolted, make sure they're not ripped, cracked, broken, or missing. And again, with the tires, same thing. You're looking for abrasions, bulges, cuts, leaks, cracks. Check your lug nuts. Listen for any leaks. Check your valve stems. Check the whiskers. And get down in and look. Watch for debris. Listen very carefully for any leaks of any kind, because if you don't, they will. Come to the front, and we get up here to the front, and we're looking at, again, the dolly legs. Make sure that they're secured to the bottom underside of the trailer. Check your cross members. Make sure your legs are straight. Make sure your bar is straight. Make sure all the bolts are in place and tight. There's no damage. Those are just a few of the things that they're going to be looking at this year for Roadcheck 2020. Again, that's going to be May 17th through the 19th, so be ready for it.